Every single day there are over 80 million users on the YouTube platform, and the top creators are actually earning between $50,000 to $200,000 every single month. Now, what many people do not know is that the majority of these creators are actually faceless. So they're not revealing their identity or even showing their face. They're simply puppet masters just sitting there running these channels anonymously. And for those of you that do not know me, I've been awarded multiple times by YouTube for running these faceless channels. This is what you get for hitting 100,000 subscribers, and I've generated over $3 million from YouTube automation at just 21 years old. But enough about me. This video that you're going to be watching will contain all of the information that you need to know in order to start your first profitable YouTube automation channel, utilizing AI as much as possible, since that is what I do. But let's not waste any more time and actually get into it. So first of all, the big question: how much does YouTube automation really pay? And if you do a quick Google search, you'll see that it's like the average RPM is between $3 to $4, and this might be true for just the kind of meme entertainment kids content, but what a lot of people don't know is that it's actually a lot higher than this. If you're strategical with all of the content that you're making and the way that you're approaching YouTube, which all of the people that are making a lot of money actually are, you can take it from being $3 to $4 in the regular RPM to actually earning anywhere from $10 to $30 per video in RPM. And I know that might sound crazy, but I'm gonna show you guys an example of a channel doing just this in a minute. First of all though, what do you actually need in order to get monetized? What are the requirements? So just to keep it very short, it will say here that you need 500 subscribers and like 3,000 watch hours, but that is not entirely the truth. What you need is 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours to get fully monetized and actually join the YouTube partner program. And when I'm talking about watch hours, that is if someone watches your video for 1 hour, that is 1 watch hour. And this only applies to long form content. So with shorts, that's a whole different kind of realm. I'm not gonna be talking about shorts. I made all of my money with long form. So after you've been approved for the program and you've reached these requirements, how do you actually reach this kind of crazy RPM and actually make a lot of money from YouTube? So the way that it works, and I'll be using this one channel as an example, if you target Western people, meaning not people from, let's say, Pakistan, India, or Vietnam, all that kind of stuff, if you actually target Western people from Europe, USA, Canada, then your RPM will naturally be increased, and it will be increased by quite a lot. This channel, if it was only targeted on Indian history, for example, and it only had Indian viewers, there's nothing wrong with that, but then the RPM naturally would be probably below $1. But if you actually make content about US history and only have only US people watching your content, that could mean that you get an RPM anywhere from $5 to $20. And that actually leads me into my second point. So if we just take a look at this channel and how long videos they're actually posting, you'll see that every single video is approximately 1 hour and 45 minutes in length, and that is for a very, very good reason. If you make longer videos, then you will keep the viewer on the platform for a very long time, much longer than a 5-minute video, and that means that YouTube can in turn display more ads to them, hence bringing them more revenue. And if you think about it, you are sharing the revenue that YouTube earns from its advertisers with them when you're in the YouTube partner program. So by them earning more money, you will be earning more money, and that is why they will not only prioritize your channel for posting longer content, you'll get caught up by the algorithm even better, but you'll also get a much higher RPM because the advertisers will pay YouTube a lot more money. And honestly, that makes sense, right? So if we just use this one channel as an example, let's take a look at the estimation of how much they are actually earning. $21,000 in the last 28 days. This might not be super accurate since it's not factoring in the much higher RPM. If we just reveal it here, let's see. They're saying 7.7, but I can guarantee you that it's higher. So if we just estimate, let's say a $10 or $15 RPM, that would be more realistic for the most viral video with 3.8 million views, 2 hours in length. And I'm not the best at math, but just counting with an RPM of 10 just to keep it simple, that is over $35,000 from one video. And let me tell you, this video does not cost more than $75 to create, so you can imagine the return on the investment yourself. And keep in mind, that is not all. If the creator is smart and actually looks at avenues beyond just ad revenue, they can monetize a channel like this with digital products, affiliate marketing, sponsorships from some kind of book company, who knows, like historic audiobooks, I don't know. And this is actually where I've made the most of my money. So this is one of the digital product stores that I've ran through one of my YouTube channels. It's at $1.3 million in the last 12 months. I've had videos where I've earned over $100,000 from just a single video due to these digital products that I'm selling. So if you factor that in for an educational channel like this that could easily implement sponsorships and products, the earning potential for channels like this is literally off off the charts. So now that you understand the earning potential YouTube has, you need to be able to find a niche. And there are a few very specific criteria that you should follow when searching on YouTube. Obviously, you shouldn't just go with something that someone recommends to you. You always need to do your own research, just like with crypto, trading, dropshipping, whatever business model, you always have to find your own unique niche. Because believe it or not, your niche choice is kind of what decides if you'll be successful or not. It doesn't matter how good content you create, if you create that content in a niche where people don't give a fuck about your content. Since if there's no demand for your content, and I'm not saying this to be rude, I'm just saying this to be completely honest, then no one is going to watch it. Now, this is what you should be looking for. And the criteria that I've mapped out here, it's not super strict. So if you find a channel that fits all of them except for one, that doesn't really matter. It's not the end of the world. Simply try to find something that fits as good as possible. So it should preferably have below 100k subs. Some channels grow super quick and get over 100k subs within just the first month of starting. Of course, that's an exception, but the channel itself should be started in the last 1 to 6 months, proving it's a recently created project. It should have gone viral once, and what I mean by that is like 100k views, that is very good, but it's not viral. So what you want to find is something that has, let's say, 500k plus views, 1 million views. That really proves the content has enough demand to be pushed to a very broad audience, and that's going to be very beneficial for you if you get into the niche. It should be growing systematically, and what I mean by this is that if you take a look at all the uploads on the channel and the uploads that they're still posting now recently, it shouldn't be declining in views. It should rather be growing consistently with every upload. The kind of average view ceiling on every single video should be getting higher with time. It shouldn't be getting lower. And this makes a lot of sense. If the channel is dying, why would you want to get into the niche where the most dominating channel is kind of dying out and becoming irrelevant? It wouldn't make sense for you to invest money and get into that, right? It's kind of like you investing in real estate in a town that is completely dead, where everyone's moving out and no one actually wants to stay. The second last criteria, it should be recreatable, and most AI channels and cash cow channels that you'll find out there with the system that I'm going to show you guys, they will be recreatable. Everything is kind of the same. Once you understand the workflow and system for the first time, you'll be able to just re-implement that across almost every single niche. And the last one, are competitors doing well? The number one tip that I can give you related to YouTube is that proven concept is what you always want to follow. Proven concept is king. And if competitors are all having very bad results, then the concept of the niche isn't really proven. It's proven with the one dominating channel, but if no one else is getting good results either, then it's not really proven to the point where it's safe enough for you to get into. And you might ask me like, Leo, what do you mean? Like, if a lot of people are in the niche, isn't it saturated? Saturation doesn't really exist. If you just implement the right strategy and create content according to what I'm teaching on this channel, then you should be able to get into practically every single niche that is quite new. I'm not, of course, meaning the channels where there are channels with like 10 million subscribers. That's going to be very hard. But the newer niches from the last 1 to 6 months, you're going to be able to outcompete every single competitor if you just apply longer uploads, higher upload frequency, and better video quality. So let's just take a super quick look at the example channel I showed you guys. It's got over 100k subs, but this one was actually started in the last 5 months, so it doesn't fit the first criteria, but it fits the second one. Then if we take a look at the most popular videos, 3.8 million views, that is definitely viral, so it fits this one. Next up, is it growing systematically? If we take a look at the latest uploads, they're still getting very good views for every upload that they post. I would definitely say that this is growing systematically. They're completely dominating the niche. It's a very good sign. So let's just fill that one out. Then next up, is it recreatable? Just take a quick look at the content.
Hey guys, tonight we begin with the remarkable lives and even more remarkable near-death experience.
Literally just a voiceover with a still image. It will be super easy for us to recreate with AI. So let's also check this one. And then, are the competitors doing well? I know personally that they have a bunch of competitors that are doing well. I'm not gonna go through it in this video since it takes a bunch of time. But if you want a video on how to thoroughly, review and analyze the competitors, it is one of the most important steps. Just let me know in the comments, but let's move on. And just really quick, if you're struggling with finding niches that actually perform, then I have something very interesting to share with you at the end of the video. But if you're interested, keep watching. It's helped thousands of people get results with YouTube automation, so I'm sure it's going to be very interesting. But let's move on with the actual video. So next up, what I want to talk about is shadowbans, and this is something that basically everyone faces. You might have posted a video and you see that it's getting no views, and that doesn't have to be your video just being crap. It can actually be to YouTube limiting your reach, since they think you're spamming the platform. It often looks like this. I've got 4 views on this video here. If I go over to the impressions, you'll see that it says 6 impressions, and all of those impressions are coming from something called YouTube search and not so many from browse features. Now this indicates that I've been shadow banned since YouTube is practically only sharing my content through the search feature. It does not get recommended on people's home pages and stuff, so someone has to search for this specific title just to find my video. That is not a good sign. The way that you will get around this is by using an aged YouTube channel, or at least a YouTube channel that isn't created like the same day that you upload. So most people, what they do wrong is that they create a new Gmail account, they create a new YouTube channel on that Gmail, and then they upload their first video that they've prepared on the same day. This is basically guaranteed to get shadow banned and just ruin your upload. What you instead want to do is use a channel that you personally had for years, maybe browsing the YouTube platform as a completely, standard user. You've subscribed to some channels, you like people's videos occasionally, you leave some comments, and that is perfect. That will tell YouTube that you are not a bot, you're a completely normal user. You're not suspicious at all, so they will be more likely to put your video into the algorithm and actually push it. And I'm not gonna tell you to go buy a bunch of, aged accounts online. If you just have a personal account on YouTube, simply use that one. If you do not have an old channel that you've used for a very long time, you can simply create a new channel, but do it on an old Gmail address. So if you have a super new Gmail and you create a super new channel, you're likely to be banned. Perfect, you now have a channel that isn't so likely to be shadow banned. Now you're probably thinking like, how the hell do I even create this kind of content if you're a beginner? But I'm gonna break it down exactly what tools you need to use. They're very cheap, they're very straightforward to use as well. And let me tell you, everyone, no matter how tech savvy you are, can create content using these tools. It really is that simple. So let me just show you. Everyone knows what ChatGPT is, right? This is Claude. It's basically ChatGPT, honestly, but what I found is very good with this tool is that it can create very, very long scripts. And based on what I've previously mentioned, that longer content performs better, this is what you need to use in order to actually create that long kind of content. So we would just go back to the reference video, get a transcript of the script. And when you have the transcript, you simply just paste it into Claude. Then just paste in whatever prompt like this. It doesn't have to be super strict unless you have a very niche channel. But I just wrote, I want to write a bedtime narration like the pasted script. I want to make it very similar since I like the reference text. Make it 3,000 words. So 1,500 words would mean approximately 8 minutes in a normal speed voiceover. In that case, if you want to make a very long video, you of course change the amount of words. I'll just make it 3,000 words for the example. Generate that and Claude will get to writing the script. And boom, you can see that Claude here is actually generating the whole script based on the reference that you sent. So the style will most likely be very good for a just very long video like this. But I do recommend that you manually take a look at the intro and kind of rewrite it, because the hook of the video is logically the most important part. If people don't watch past your hook, then your video will not perform well. It will ruin the average view duration a lot, which I'll talk about in a second. So make sure to manually just touch up the intro based on the reference video. Take a look at how they form their intros, because once again, proven concept is the best way to do things. So let's say you've done that. How do you actually generate the voiceover? So I'll just copy this part of the intro. This would be the part that you want to turn into the voiceover. So preferably, in your case, the entire script, of course. Then you just head over to 11 Labs. And 11 Labs is by far the best voiceover generator. There's no doubt about it. It's very cheap and the voices are very high quality. It just works well. So if you take a look at the left-hand side, you'll see that I am in the kind of text-to-speech playground here. On the 11 Labs, I would simply paste in the script here that I want to generate and then choose a voice that I think fits. I can see here on the right hand side, I've saved a voice that is called Ellis. It's a engaging British storyteller that would be perfect for our video. So I would simply choose him and then just press on generate down here. And as you will hear now, it turned out very good.
Hey everyone, tonight we journey into the mist-shrouded world of Viking funeral rites.
That's perfect. Now for the visuals, you can see that the reference video just has some kind of painting from the medieval times. So I can simply go over to Pixabay, which is a copyright-free website. I'll just select illustrations here and search for something like history. Let's see what we get. Okay, not the best images, so let's go with medieval instead. And here you can see that the style is better on some of this. So you would basically just search for medieval painting, medieval art, something like that, and then just scroll around on this website until you find images that are good enough to put in the video. And it literally is that easy. And then you just take the images that you've downloaded and feed them into CapCut, which is a free editing software. Literally put them just one image after another, add a transition, and the video is basically done. I already have a bunch of tutorials showing this more in depth on my channel. So if you're interested in the precise process of creating the content, simply check out one of my other videos and you'll get all of the information that you need. So next up is the most important metrics that you need to know. And this is really important, so really make sure that you're paying attention. So there are two metrics that you really need to look at in order to know how you can improve your content. If you've posted 0 videos, it's going to be hard for you to improve something since you have no data to work with. So it's very important that you post content consistently, since then you'll get more data to actually iterate on. But the first thing is the CTR, and that means the impressions click-through rate. In simple terms, that means how many people have been shown or recommended your video in relation to how many people actually clicked on it and started watching your video. You can see that I have a CTR here that is 6.4%, and based on my experience, what I've seen is a good CTR across most niches is probably like 8 or 9%. That is a very good CTR. Normal CTR is probably like 7-6%. Now, a very important thing to keep in mind is that the more viral your video goes, the lower CTR it will have. Because if you think about it, if YouTube starts pushing your video to a very broad audience, unsure if all of the people they show to will like it, a fewer amount of people will actually click on it, and that will drastically lower your CTR. So the CTR is most accurate shortly after you've posted the video, not in the beginning, because it's going to be very inflated at that point as well, but kind of a little period after you've actually posted it. Now, the second metric that you need to keep in mind is the average view duration and the average percentage viewed. They're very straightforward to understand what they mean, but also very important thing to mention here is that this is very different depending on the niche. So you can see here that my video just has a 10% average percentage viewed, and that is quite low. Like, the average person has just watched my video 10% of its full length, but yet even though it's very low, my video has still got 151k views, which is, you know, above average for personal brand videos. So no matter what all of these guys on YouTube tell you that you have to have in terms of average view percentage, it's not really accurate unless you compare it to your own uploads. And that just takes me back to the fact that you need to post more in order to get more data. So those are the two most important metrics. Apart from the metrics, you as a beginner should focus on what actually matters. And there are 5 kind of categories here of what you should focus on. It kind of goes in a hierarchy here. If you don't master this step above, then no matter how good you make all of the other things, it won't really work. First of all, the video topic is by far the most important thing. You need to master finding what people are actually interested in watching. If you fail with the video topic, no matter how good everything else is, your video will not perform. But when you've established a perfect video topic, you need to consider your packaging, and that is the thumbnail and the title. Those two are perfect. You simply move on to making sure that everything else is perfect, like the script, the voiceover, the editing, sound effects, posting settings, and tags I've kind of put at the bottom here because they don't really make any difference. It's only these gurus online that try to trick beginners into thinking like tags will make you go viral. They won't. Sorry to break it to you, but that's just how it is. Now, I know this have been a lot to take in, so let's just take a breather. But the next part will be about how you actually outsource and scale up your operation once you have these processes dialed in and you actually have a channel gaining traffic. So since the workflow for creating content is so easy, it doesn't require any skill. You simply need to put in time to make it happen. The best way to automate this is simply to get a very cheap virtual assistant. Keep in mind, the regular pay for virtual assistants is $5 to $10 an hour. So regardless of whatever budget you might have, it is very budget friendly, and it's quite easy for you to get going without having to spend, thousands of dollars in salary to a person. So the way that you would do this is simply use the website called onlinejobs.ph or Upwork or Fiverr to find a virtual assistant, negotiate the rates. As I said, standard rates are $5 to $10 an hour, preferably 5. And you simply create very structured Google documents or SOPs on how you create the content yourself. Since you already know the process, you simply just note down these steps that you would take yourself, and they will create the content for you when you are, sleeping, when you're at the gym. This is how you automate a channel. And I also just wanted to give you guys a little golden nugget on how to actually manage your team here. If you have or run a slightly bigger operation than just one virtual assistant, or even if you just have one assistant, honestly, you should be using Trello to manage all of your uploads and make sure that you are overseeing what is actually going on. So I'm just going to scroll through the tabs here so you can actually see what kind of columns I have in my Trello board. If you guys want me to share my template that I'm using for all of my channels, simply leave me a comment and I'll do it. But the way it works, you have a card here. Let's say that this is an individual video. You have the video topic as the title of the card, and simply the virtual assistant just drags the card through whatever process it is in. So if it is in voiceover in progress, that means that the virtual assistant is now creating the voiceover in 11 Labs, and then the voiceover is pending review from whoever is the manager. If you don't want to review it, simply skip this column, but then they just move it to voiceover approved. That means that the voiceover is done. Super straightforward. And yeah, believe it or not, like this kind of team structure is enough to create a channel that generates you $10,000 or $20,000 per month. And when you're at that stage, you simply just copy paste this strategy onto more channels. And that is the world of YouTube automation. It doesn't have any real ceiling, since you can just create as many channels as you want to. You can test as many niches as you want to. And that is why me and many others believe that YouTube automation is simply one of the best current business models out there. However, as I said at the start of this video, none of this matters if you don't have a lot of data, and that comes from consistency. But most importantly, if your niche is very, very bad, then no matter how good content you post, you will not go viral. And you will want to hear what I have to say. So I've been doing YouTube now for a few years, and the fact is that I am simply better than most people at finding niches, which is proven by my results. Otherwise, everyone would just be successful with YouTube, right? So I got the genius idea of simply starting to give everyone that I work with within my program, instead of you having to search for a niche yourself, me and my team will simply do all of the research, competitor analysis, due diligence that you have to do for a niche to work. We simply do all of it, and we just give you the niche done for you. And no, I'm not saying that you have to have this to succeed. When I started YouTube, I did not have a coach. I wasn't given a niche. I simply made it work all on my own. But what I can say, since the period where I implemented this kind of giving niche initiative, the results in the program has absolutely skyrocketed. Like, we can just scroll here. You can see Dom Biggie Dom, 4.8k in the last month. Like Dominic here, hitting 5k subs on his first channel, getting 3k in his first ever payout from YouTube. Reed, and this is actually crazy, he's made over 24k in the past 3 months. And keep in mind, this is when he joined the program. So he joined without any YouTube experience, simply created a new channel following our guidance and the systems that I give out. But this is just to open up your eyes of what is actually possible. Like here, Matthias as well, 19k in the first 4 to 5 days on YouTube, with a completely new channel. So all in all, I'm not saying this to flex, and keep in mind, like, this service that we provide to all of our members, it is not cheap. It comes at a 4-figure investment. But if you want to start a faceless YouTube channel that is actually profitable, and you want to speedrun your growth as much as you can, then our applications are open. We don't work with everyone that applies. In fact, we only work with people that we genuinely believe we can get results. And that is also why for the people that are approved into the program, we guarantee results. So yeah, that's about it. If you're interested, of course, feel free to apply. Nonetheless though, I want to know what you want to see next on this channel. I'm making content about YouTube to help as many of you guys as possible, whether that be videos about, purchasing channels, how to write scripts with AI, whatever. I will make it depending on the demand that I see. So leave a comment. The most upvoted comment I will make a video about. But that is it for today. See ya.